Hey, welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of December, 2024. So I think that, as promised, it's been about 3 weeks since I took off on my trip up to Washington. Got back a couple days ago, and I really wish I'd gotten something done in the last 2 days other than just trying to make this space work again as it becomes more and more crowded. This is obviously the Gilbertson Aero Factory, but it now shares a space with the Gilbertson Motor and Marine Factory over here. So we'll make it work. Today I'm going to fix what I messed up with these flap ribs the last time you saw me, and I'll give you a better explanation of how I messed that up. These I picked up at Vans in person on Friday, I think, on my way back down. Also picked up some Pro Seals so I can get to work fixing the tanks. And then this NAC event, which Tim told me is a good idea to get this thing now. You can go ahead and get it mounted. It comes with the finish kit, but it mounts to the bottom skin of the right wing, I think. Anyways, what else did I get? Oh yeah, okay. I got an assortment of Cherry Max rivets of different sizes. I don't know if the size that I need is in here. I got the sizes that Vans had available, and separately I ordered, it's still in the plastic here, I'll show it to you when I use it. This is a cherry rivet gauge. This is how you determine the size, the depth, the length, the grip length of the Cherry Max rivet you need for any particular application. So I got that off of Amazon. And then while I was there, I picked up this, still in the wrapper, a little drill guide. I've seen people struggling, and surely if they struggled, I would too, with drilling straight holes through pipe. So for example, the torque tube, which I'll have to be doing here soon. So this will fit nicely over a curved surface and help me drill a straight hole. We'll see how that works. Anyways, long introduction for a very short work session. I'm just going to redo these flap ribs, get them to where they need to be, and I'll explain to you why I need to redo that. So thanks for being here. Let's build an airplane. All right, just like that, no sooner had I recorded the intro than we have to interrupt our normally scheduled programming for an unboxing. UPS showed up with some stuff from Spruce that I need to build an airplane. So let's see what we got. I mean, I know what I got. Let's show you what we got. I'll tell you one thing, as Tim likes to say, this stuff isn't cheap, but the plane doesn't fly without it. Packing paper, probably a good night to build a fire. More packing paper. Ooh, there's legs in here. There's one thing. All right, that stuff. Get rid of it. Two things. GAP 26 14 volt regulated. This is pitot tube, pitot probe. Yep, that's it. So if I haven't mentioned it, I'm going Garmin. This is a Garmin GAP 26 regulated heated pitot probe. Got that, and I don't think that I'll be mounting this yet, but what I do need is that, which is going to be mounted in the wing. That is the voltage regulator that goes for that. So, happy to have it. Sorry to see the money go. Next up is, probably be real careful about opening this. Something else that needs to go inside the wings and other parts of the airplane, but tubing tubing and fitting. I think this is 25-foot lengths of outside diameter 1/4 inch, and then a whole variety of fittings and snap bushings and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's for doing some plumbing work inside the wings, and then later on in the fuselage and in the instrument panel, and I don't know, maybe even up in front of the firewall. Anyways, I got that stuff. That gives me more work to do and less money to work with. There you go, unboxing. Okay, so here's what happened. This is a new FL705. I think these flap ribs are common to all or almost all of the Vans models. They all use the same flap rib, same part number. When you receive these ones, there are 2 holes that are not already in this part that you need to match drill to the skin. There's one right here, and there's one on the end of the rib. These ones where the skin will be mounted, these are and 426.3, so 3/32, the small little flush rivets, and these will be number 30, drilled out to a number 30 hole, which is a larger hole. This is the bottom of the flap. It's flipped over, and this is where you begin the fitting and construction and whatnot. I already have the ones that I messed up in here, but here's how I messed up, and I don't want you to do the same. Once I got this all clecoed together like this, and it was time to drill out this hole and this hole, I already had a number 30 bit in my drill, so I decided that I would match drill these holes first because it was convenient, stupidly. So I did those, and then next would be to, and these have been drilled, match drill the hole that will be right here to the skin. And when I was doing these, when I was match drilling these, I got it all nice and flat, and then for whatever reason, I wanted to support the rib, so I lifted up like this to do the drilling, and when I lift up like this, you see that it gets a bit of flex in there. So the holes that I drilled into the end of these ribs were not necessarily square with where they needed to be, and this rib wasn't firmly against the skin. I should have, and you should, do this hole first so that this rib is snug to the skin and square before you do this hole. And when you do this hole, don't lift up on this stupid piece like I did, just leave it flat. That's what I did wrong. That's what I'm gonna undo today. Okay, so we're 8 minutes into this and I haven't even started building anything yet. So this is a little bit different for the way that my videos have been going lately. Interesting, you see me removing all those clecos. There's nothing even on the other side of those clecos. I don't know what I was thinking, but that aft end of that bottom skin, I put clecos all the way across as if there was a spar underneath there. The only place where those clecos were necessary was where I drilled that final hole that I match drilled. So that's kind of funny. Anyways, I have to go back and if you recall the fat end of these ribs that goes into that forward spar, those all need to be upsized to a number 30. So I need to get them all on there and size them up. Obviously, those holes in the spar have already been upsized from the first attempt. And you may notice here when I get to the end, I'm putting the new ribs in there. And I had one of the end ribs reversed, the inboard ends. You see me, that's what I'm messing around with right there. Doing a lot of head scratching, look at the plans. But completely on brand for me that I would do that. And of course, if I didn't find out now, I'd find out later when holes didn't line up. But those, it's a little bit confusing looking at the plan for this because obviously when you have
so-called mirror parts like this, the drawing you have is just always for the left wing. And so one of the things that you often look at when you look at the plans is the direction that the flanges are facing, assuming that on the other wing they would face the opposite direction. But in this case, all of those, what we just talked about, the flap 705, those interior ribs are all identical. So those flanges all face the same direction on both wings. It's not a mirror image of each other. But the end ribs are specific to each wing. One set of end ribs for the right wing, one set of end ribs for the left wing, kind of thing, or a left and a right, whatever. Anyways, when you get there, you'll figure it out. So I did manage to get these all done. This time being very careful about leaving the structure undisturbed and laying flat on the table while I do any match drilling. So this portion right here is just setting up to do the so-called match drilling, sizing up these holes on the forward end of the rib. So I've got that little trigger clamp out. These ribs, they only have two holes on the flange that butt up to the rib. So if you're trying to keep them aligned when you're match drilling, you need a second thing to hold on to. So one cleco in one hole, and then that trigger clamp to hold it still so that you can upsize the other hole, if that makes sense. That's what I'm doing there. Disappeared here for a few minutes for a phone call. So I think that this session, although I said it was going to be a short one, still ended up to be like 2 hours, because I can make anything take a long time, apparently. So yeah, 2 hours in the workshop, basically just getting back to the point that I had been previously when I messed everything up. It did work out in that I got everything match drilled successfully. So while this is moving along at a 150% or 1,500% rate, should have put my phone on silent. Let's see. If you look at on the far end, well, I just flipped it over. Okay, so where those ribs meet up to that little curl on the back end of that skin, which they refer to in quotes, literally in the plans in quotes, as the rear or the aft spar, the rear spar of the flap. The small flange on the end should butt up nicely against that so-called rear spar. If it doesn't, it says that you can make small shims, or as they say, small shims are acceptable. So on the right wing, which is in the background there, those ribs all fit snug against that rear spar where I'm going to match drill it. I'm going to get back to that point in a second. So what you see me doing now is what I said. There's a point to be made here. I said that you should do those holes on the top, on the last hole there, to hold the rib snug to the skin before you do the aft spar. It tells you to do the other order, to match drill those end ones first, then drill to the skin. I disagree. Anyways, so what you see me here, this is what I was talking about, shims. The left wing, the left flap that's nearest to us, on this one, those ribs don't, just by a hair, they're not quite flush with that aft, with that so-called aft spar. So I am cutting out some little tiny shims to put in there of, I think, 20 thousandths thickness aluminum. And actually, I did 2 20 thousandths, and then 2 of them I did with 25 thousandths because that gap was a little bit more. And so my suspicion is that this just comes down to just very slight differences in the manufacturing, because that is not a that's a tricky curve that they put in that thing to create that little back spar there. So there might be slight variations, which would some of those skins come out flush, and some of them maybe just slightly off. That's what I have. So, anyways, cutting out, making the little shims, and I'll get those inserted and match drilled, and that whole business done. So, as far as I know, this all worked out. I haven't discovered any new errors that I have created in this process, and it's certainly something that I am leery of because I've been gone for 3 weeks, and if you followed this channel for any length of time, you know that I can make enough mistakes when I work on consecutive days, but if I come back from a long absence, I'm almost guaranteed to mess something up. So... this is match drilling. I need to order some new drill bits. These are just starting to feel a bit worn, and I thought that I had put new drill bits in that little rolling tool chest, but this seems to be taking a while to do this. So once these get match drilled, the next step in the plans is to start fooling around with the piano hinge, which will run along the forward spar on the bottom. That's going to be the point of attachment to the flap brace, and the plans are not super informative in terms of like cut points, like how long the piano hinge needs to be. So what you're going to see me here as we get to the end of the video is pulling out the piano hinges and taking some measurements and looking at the plans and deciding that I better quit while I'm ahead and not try to cut these things. We'll save that for a later build session, do a little bit more research on the length. If you look on the drawing, it says 56 inches, but the drawing is not, it's not super clear, really, where they're mounting, and there's some other stuff, geometric stuff to be concerned with about where you're going to mount these, like how far away from the web of that spar, because it all affects the alignment with the aileron. So I'm not going to press my luck and try to do that tonight. I'll do that tomorrow with a fresh brain and more coffee.